backs that they have there now in New England that will put some points on the board, but you won't see those 5, 6, 7 explosive pass plays from Mac Jones in this matchup. That'll keep them under 31 next Sunday against the LA Chargers. All right, question number 2, reaction or no action. Every team in the NFL will end the season with at least 2 losses. Right now we have undefeated Arizona and a whole slew of teams that only have just 1 loss next to their name, mostly in the NFC. So will every team have 2 losses by the end of the season, reaction or no action?
I'm going reaction here. NFL, what does that stand for? Not for long, your record. Because that's what makes the NFL so great, Tyler, obviously is because of the parity. You know, you've got the best in the business. These dudes get paid a lot of money. And I took a deep dive into the remaining schedule for the teams that we talked about, and a lot of them still have games against opponents that are above 500. Arizona, 3 games. Rams 3, Bucks 3. They take on the Saints twice, mind you, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on that Saints defense. The Packers 4 and Dallas 2, on top of the fact that we know Dak Prescott is dealing with a foot-leg calf injury. So I'm going reaction here just because the parity alone, and you still have a lot of football, good football to be played.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you here. Reaction. Of course, you don't want to see it, but injuries could happen to one of these 5 teams in the NFC with 1 or no losses in the L column. And the fact that they're all in the NFC and you ran through the schedule there increases the likelihood that they'll play each other. The Cardinals and Rams will play each other again, this time in Arizona. But that's a 15-2 season. I think we'll have a couple teams that are 14-3, 15-2, but I think at least 2 losses for every team in the NFL, because all these teams that we're talking about right now are in the NFC, and they'll kind of cannibalize each other. Injuries can happen, and who knows if teams that are struggling right now don't get hot later in the season and become way more difficult to play. So I'm with you there. 2 for 2. We're both in reaction mode. Can we make it 3 for 3? You mentioned, Anita, the NFL stands for not for long. And it didn't take long for Patrick Mahomes to fall from the graces. He's got 9 interceptions so far this season, more than he had all last year. Reaction or no action, Mahomes will end up with 15 or more picks this season.
I'm going reaction. 3 for 3, Tyler. How can you not? There is something wrong with this Kansas City team. What is it? It's a laundry list, right? Like, the way that the defense is performing subpar is affecting the offense. Defensively, they can't stop a cold. So what happens? It's forcing Patrick Mahomes to play out of the way he normally plays. He's not letting the game come to him. He's forcing things. I have a feeling Andy Reid is in his ear saying, hey, listen, we need to score over 30 points this week in order to win this ball game. Each and every week, I'm sure that's what Andy Reid is telling Patrick Mahomes. He's got a new offensive line. They're not gelling. They can't run the ball. They can't pass protect. And Mahomes is just trying to do too much. And I took a look at his schedule. He's got some really good defenses he's going to be going up against in the next few weeks. The Cowboys, the Steelers, the Bengals, the Ravens, even the Giants. Look what they did last week with Carolina, this past week with Carolina. So I'm going reaction here.
Yeah, I'm with you. 3 for 3 reaction across the board for both of us. At 9, he just needs to throw 6 more, and he's got 10, 11 games left for that, depending on where they're at. So here's the thing with Mahomes. Like, if they want to make the playoffs, he's going to have to keep being aggressive, keep chucking it, and taking on risk, because that defense is going to remain one of the worst defenses in the NFL through the end of the season. So if they want to compensate for that and make the postseason, Mahomes will have to stay aggressive and keep taking chances, and that will end with some interceptions. Maybe he can get them back in the back end of the playoff race in the AFC, but the interceptions will come. I'm reacting there with you as well. All right, it is Monday here on Bet, so that means we got to bring in the GM on the ESPN platforms. Our buddy Mike Tannenbaum joining us. Mike T, always a pleasure to have you. We will get into Monday Night Football in just a second with Seattle and the New Orleans Saints, but we were just talking about Mahomes and the Chiefs there, and maybe the biggest surprise, Mike T, in the NFL, that they're struggling right now. They're 3-4. They're 3rd in their own division. Bottom line, with everything you've seen, would you bet on the Chiefs at this point to make the playoffs?
Absolutely, guys, and here's why. They got the best player in the sport, Patrick Mahomes. They have to clean up a number of things. 17 turnovers, 44 accepted penalties. Those are things that I believe Andy Reid can address. Orlando Brown, the left tackle, isn't playing as well as Eric Fisher. I think some of the things they need to do, and Anita already alluded to this laundry list, but protection and clean up the penalties and turnovers. And I think this is a team, when it's all said and done, can still win 10 games. Remember, we're playing a 17-game season, and 7 teams make the playoffs.
All right, Mike, let's talk about Joe Burrow, right? Cincinnati, they beat the Ravens yesterday. This is a team, they're 3-0 in the AFC and second best point differential in the AFC as well, right behind the Bills. So my question to you is, can the Bengals get to 10 wins this season?
Absolutely. You know, this defense is playing way better than people thought they would be. And let's give them credit. Brought over Larry Ogunjobi. Trey Hendrickson came over from the Saints. Sam Hubbard from Ohio State has played much better for them. And their backend's holding up pretty good. Mike Hilton's been a good signing. So I think this is a team where the offense is getting all the headlines, guys, but defensively they're better than people realize.
All right, Mike T, let's dive into your specialty, Monday Night Football. And, hey, all good things must come to an end. Unfortunately, you took your first L betting against the spread with last week's Monday night game, the Titans taking care of the Bills. But still, you had been undefeated to that point, so we'll take it easy on you. You know, you're allowed to have one slip up in every 6 weeks. Here's what we got tonight up in Seattle. You got the New Orleans Saints visiting the Seahawks. Saints are laying 4 against Seattle, a low total of 41.5. Of course, there's no Russell Wilson for the Seattle Seahawks, so that's a big reason why the total is low and why New Orleans is a favorite on the road. What are you doing with this game? Would you lay it with the Saints, or are you backing the home dog?
I'm going with Seattle, guys, and I think this is a game that, it's amazing that we're talking about the Saints and the Seahawks, and it's not Russell Wilson and Drew Brees, but Jameis Winston and obviously Geno Smith filling in for an injury replacement. But I think with the weather, the elements, I like Seattle at home. Alex Collins is a good running back. I do think the Saints have a really good defense, so I expect a low-scoring game, and I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle won the game outright.
All right, you've been spot on with your prop bets as well. Both these quarterbacks, very similar prop bets in regard to passing yards. Jameis Winston, 205. Geno Smith, 207.5. Any of these plays tickle your fancy, Mike T?
Yeah, Anita, we're going under and under. Again, I think this is going to be a tight, hard-fought game, old school, outdoors, element game. I think both teams are going to try to establish the run, look for Alvin Kamara, Alex Collins to have big games. But I think both these quarterbacks are part of the story tonight. I don't think they are the story. So I like Seattle. Hopefully it's a 10-7, 14-10 game. I think we're looking at an old school game tonight, just given all the conditions we're looking at. And with, again, a really good Saint defense. And I think Seattle plays better at home than they do on the road.
All right, Mike Tannenbaum trying to get back on track on Monday Night Football. Started 5-0, a loss last week, but I wouldn't count him out. He's going to take the points with the Seahawks at home and play the under. Mike T, as always, we appreciate you joining us here on Bet. We'll see you next Monday.
All right, guys, really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, now it's our turn, Anita, to dive into this game. You've heard all the essentials. Saints land 4 on the road against Seattle, a low total of 41.5. And you heard Mike T bring it up. Let's inform our viewers that although it may not be the monsoon we saw last night in Santa Clara, we are expecting a little bit of rain there and winds in the reasonable 10 to 20 mile per hour range. Temperatures perfect for football in the 50s, high 40s, but it could be a little slick out there. Again, maybe not quite like what we saw last night, but rain could be an element. Consider that when you give us your handicapping. All right, we heard from Mike T. He's on the Seahawks side. Anita, it's our turn now. I'll let you have it. We were both on the Titans last week, I believe, going against Mike T, and that worked in our favor. How are you approaching this game tonight? Are you backing the home dog? Or are you going to lay it with the road favorite?
I have to say, I'm going against Mike T here. I like the Saints. I spent some time today texting with Mike Triplett, who does a phenomenal job covering the Saints for us here at ESPN. He's informed me that health-wise, this is a Saints team. Not only are they coming off of a bye, which Sean Payton is 12-6 straight up. He's excellent off a bye week, but also they're getting healthier on both the offensive and defensive line. which is I think is going to be really crucial tonight because you just pointed out the weather conditions. I think that we're going to see a lot of carries from Alvin Kamara in that backfield. They're going to have to run the football, control the time of possession, eat up time of possession, move the chains, and get into the red zone because the Saints are 13. Interesting stat here, interesting nuggets for you. Saints are 13 of 14 in the red zone in regard to red zone possessions, scoring touchdowns, and the Seattle Seahawks are allowing 27 red zone possessions. They have allowed already 27 red zone possessions already this season. So I think that's a really interesting stat that will dictate the outcome of this ball game. So I'm on the Saints laying the 4.
Now, Anita, we did the Daily Wager podcast this morning, and you know I was reluctantly on the home dog at that time. I just thought two teams that are about even. If it's more than a field goal for the home team, I'll just take those points in my pocket, say a prayer, and see what happens. But I got to admit, you talked me into it. As I thought about it more, had my breakfast, had my coffee, I switched. I am now on the Saints, and I reluctantly go against Mike Tannenbaum. Yet again, I'm going to lay the 4 with the Saints for many of the reasons that you pointed out. Obviously, Sean Payton coming off a bye. Alvin Kamara, a great matchup against the Seahawks defense that has not stopped opposing running backs at all. As a matter of fact, opposing RBs are accounting for over 180 yards of offense per game against the Seattle team. And we have one of the best, most explosive, most dynamic running backs in the NFL on the other side. Not to mention, not only are they coming off a bye, getting Eric McCoy back, getting Terron Armstead back on that offensive line, some of the defensive reinforcements as well. I just couldn't stomach taking the 4 points with Geno Smith when all of those things were lining up on the Saints side to say play the Saints. And the only thing that was really lining up on the Seahawks side is it's more than a field goal at home. Sorry, I went with the Saints. So the coffee woke me up, and I'm on your side now, and we're going up against Mike T yet again, which is scary, but I think the Saints are the better team.
Agreed.
Okay, there it is. Now props. This is what we want to get into. You didn't talk me off any props because we were pretty much in lockstep when it comes to the prop game. I know you like Alvin Kamara. I like Alvin Kamara, so I'll just throw this out there. Play is over receiving yardage prop. Play is over passing yardage prop. And as you see on the screen there, you think he's going to get a lot of touches in this game, Anita.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've been talking about the weather and the improvement to the offensive line. I'm looking at over 22.5 carries for Alvin Kamara. He's had over 22 twice in a game already this season. Here's a sneaky good play with Alex Collins under 46.5 rushing yards. Rashad Penny is expected to come off of IR. Pete Carroll loves him some Rashad Penny, and he's going to be a part of that backfield. Will he be the lead back? Possibly. Isn't he getting some touches? He is. So I'm going under rushing yards for Alex Collins, and I'm waiting to see, once it's released, once it's announced that Rashad Penny is coming off of IR, I'm going to keep a close eye on those prop bets as soon as they land on the board, and I'm going to take the over in carries for Rashad Penny tonight. Jameis Winston, under 25.5 passing attempts. He just doesn't pass the ball that much. He averages 20 or 21 a game. Again, weather conditions are going to be bad. And then Geno Smith, over 14.5 rushing yards. As Mike pointed out, this Saints defense, they're really good. The Seattle Seahawks offensive line is really bad. Geno Smith is going to be running for his life tonight.
All right, we are in lockstep here. I hope that Kamara gets at least 23 rushing attempts because that will help with at least one of my props, and that's over his rushing yardage total of 91.5. His reception yardage total is 31.5. You can get his combined rushing and receiving yards at 127.5 if you want to play that over and not take the risk of having both of those, but just the combined total in case he goes over big time in one and doesn't really do it in the other. I would understand that, but I think we're in for a massive Alvin Kamara day against a Seahawks defense that I will remind you again has allowed opposing running backs to account for 181.5 total yards of offense per game against their defense, and Kamara for the Saints has accounted for 82% of their running back yards. So he gets all the usage, all the production for this particular team, and this particular team is matched up with a team that can't defend running backs at all. So we're both in lockstep on Kamara there, and of course, Jameis Winston is a correlation play to that. If Kamara's running the rock, You won't need Jameis Winston chucking it as well. All right, DK Metcalf, take a little timeout for a second here. Going to bring in the Bear and move it down to collegiate football. We always love having Chris Felica with us on Bet from the Bear Cave on a Monday, getting us ready for the next weekend in college football. Let's start with this. The first college football playoff rankings will officially come out there on November 2nd. As it stands right now, approaching November 2nd at the end of October, give me your top 6 teams in the college football ranking as you would put them out, starting at 6 and going in descending order.
Well, my top 6, I can promise you, are going to be much different than what the College Football Playoff Committee will have next week. At number 6, I'm going to have Oregon. I have the Ducks higher than a lot of people. That win at Ohio State early this year was not a fluke. You need to reward them for that. I don't have them ahead of Ohio State right now because they're not exactly the same team with C.J. Verdell being out for the year. But that was a really impressive win at UCLA this weekend, and I have the Ducks at 6. At number 5, I have Michigan. The Wolverines are undefeated. They have a chance to make a big statement and take a big step forward this week at undefeated Michigan State, but I love Corum running the ball and the Wolverines defense. Number 4, I have Oklahoma. The Sooners now resemble the team that a lot of people thought that they would be prior to the start of the season with Caleb Williams now at quarterback. They had one of those sleepwalk type games, a bad first half, and then took over in the second half of Kansas. My number 3 team right now is Ohio State. Yes, they did lose to Oregon earlier this year, but they also now are a different team than when they lost to the Ducks earlier in the year. Stroud and that offense are really going now. They've made some changes on the defensive side of the ball, and what they've done the last few weeks against inferior opponents has been impressive. And now, with Penn State this week, they have a big chance to make a big statement against a ranked team. Number 2, I have Alabama. Yes, the Crimson Tide lost to Texas A&M, but at the same time, how many teams if Alabama plays Ohio State or Oklahoma or Michigan or Oregon or the Tide are better. So I don't care about that loss where it was. I think the Tide simply are number 2, and number 1 has to be Georgia. They will be number 1 in the committee rankings next week as long as they get past Florida in Jacksonville this week. Defense is historically good. Stetson Bennett has come in and played great. The running game is fantastic. Anybody that doesn't have Georgia number 1 in the country right now is simply lying.
All right, Bear, you admitted your CFP rankings are going to look a lot different than the real ones that come out on November 2nd, and I know that you know why I'm getting animated here. Why are not the Cincinnati Bearcats at least in your top 6?
Because I don't think they're as good as any of the 6 teams out there. I would have them 7. Like I said, the Indiana win certainly does not look as good as it did earlier in the year. Just for comparison's sake now, Cincinnati was trailing in the second half against Indiana, and then they pulled away late after McFadden got suspended. Ohio State led that team 44-7 at halftime. Like you can't, I use that stuff. Yes, the win at Notre Dame was a good win, but I still think if you look at power ratings and you look at the efficiency units for both teams and the strength of schedule and how the overall schedule is played out, I just have Cincinnati where they are. Is it right or is it wrong? It depends on your viewpoint. I will say this, though, because you brought it up. They're going to be in the committee's top 4 next week. I can assure you of that. It's just a question of whether they can hold off the Oklahomas and the Ohio States or Michigan States, those Big Ten teams that are behind them. But hey, look, I'd love to see Cincinnati get in the playoffs because I think it would be a great end-all for that conversation of do they belong.
All right, Bearcats fans, put the lid back on your Skyline chili you were planning to throw at Bear next time he's at college football game day. Even though doesn't have him in his own top 6, he said he can assure you the College Football Playoff Committee, the one that matters most, will have the Bearcats and their initial top 6, probably top 4 next week. All right, let's get away from that conversation and move to the individual award in college football, the Heisman Trophy race. And as it stands right now, Bryce Young, QB at Alabama, is still the favorite, slight favorite at plus 175 to take home this trophy. Looking at the top 5 when it comes to the odds, you have Matt Corral, the other SEC quarterback, C.J. Stroud, Kenny Pickett, and now Caleb Williams in the top 5 at 14-1. Is this a 2-horse race between Young and Corral, or are some of those other guys you see on the screen legitimate plays at this point?
It's not a two-horse race, and I don't know why it's being priced as it's a two-horse race. Why would you bet on Bryce Young? If Alabama loses the SEC championship game, or maybe loses to Auburn or someone else, they're not even going to be in the SEC title game, and he's got no chance of winning if Alabama doesn't win the SEC, and Alabama has 2 losses. So Bryce Young is a terrible bet. Corral, I still don't see him winning because I do think another loss will find Ole Miss, and certainly if they're not in the SEC title game, I have a hard time thinking voters are going to go there. I think Trayvon Henderson is the Heisman candidate from Ohio State. I understand why people are gravitating towards Stroud because he is the quarterback, and it essentially is a quarterback-driven award. Yeah. I've been tooting Henderson's horns for a while, and Caleb Williams, as I just mentioned. What he has done to Oklahoma's offense, he's had a couple of Heisman moment-type plays as a starter. So I would be betting Williams, I'd be betting Stroud, and I would be betting Henderson, and avoiding the top 2 guys at all costs.
All right, Bear, let's quickly then rip through what is potentially a very big weekend in the Big Ten. You mentioned it earlier, Michigan State and Michigan going at it. Both teams undefeated. Michigan inside your top 6 right now for the College Football Playoff Committee, as you see it, laying 4.5 at East Lansing. Do the Wolverines stay unblemished, or can Sparty pull off the upset?
Well, Michigan State fans are going to join the Cincinnati fans in hurling insults and whatever else they want at me on the game day set because they think I have an agenda against Michigan State. But I don't love this game, but I think it's solely a price play and odds play. I take Michigan State right now plus the 4.5 because I think this line's going to come down. So it gives you an opportunity to maybe create a little bit of a middle or get off the Michigan State bet and get on Michigan at a shorter price. I don't love the game, but I think the defense and the running game of Michigan is probably the right side here. But right now at 4.5 in anticipation of a line move, I would take Michigan State.
All right, the other Big Ten matchup that has big implications at Ohio State. Unfortunately for the Nittany Lions, they're coming off that epic 9 OT loss at home to Illinois, visiting that Ohio State squad you have inside your college football playoff top 4 right now. The Buckeyes laying 18.5. Is that too much against the Nittany Lion team trying to fend off last week's massive upset?
Yeah, I think it is. I think Sean Clifford now coming back, being a little bit healthier. The line is a bit of an overreaction to what we saw last week. This will be the best defense that Ohio State has played since that Oregon game. So I do expect Ohio State to struggle a little bit more against that Penn State front and against that Penn State secondary. I think the defense will give Ohio State some issues. I don't think they can go to Columbus and win outright, but I think it's way too many points. So, by the way, good luck to you and Anita tonight. Getting Mike T. You and I got him last week with the Titans, so hopefully you and Anita can have similar luck tonight.
That's right. I was saying it was Anita, but it was the Bear who I was hosting with last week. I just knew it was 2-1 against Mike T, and that was an uncomfortable spot to be in. But good for us, Bear. We got Mike T.
Got there.
Of course, he's probably due to go off on another 5-game win streak on Monday night. Awesome stuff, as always, breaking down college football. Chris Verlika from the Bear Cave. We appreciate you joining us here on a Monday edition of Bet.
Take care now.
All right, Anita Marks back on in as we move from the gridiron to the hardwood. The NBA season has begun. We love betting each and every night on the pros at the NBA level. So let's take a look at a couple of big games tonight and let me know if you have a side total or prop. We start with this one in Indy. The Bucks laying 2 at the Pacers. No Drew Holiday for the Bucks. They're a little shorthanded. A couple of guys out of that rotation. Anything you like side total or prop in this matchup?
Yeah, I don't have a grip here. You know, like you said, Holiday out. Pacers actually impressive with their win against Miami, but there's a prop bet that I love, and that's this rookie, Chris Duarte from the Dominican Republic. Dude's been balling, averaging 40 minutes, 20 points his last 2 games. You can get over 14.5 points tonight. So that's my favorite prop bet in this matchup. You gotta watch this young man. He's really something special.
Yeah, and he's been getting all the minutes he can handle as a rookie and been performing. I'll stay on that Pacers side and try and get a pretty good payout here for a Malcolm Brogdon double-double. It's plus 625. Brogdon this season is averaging basically 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. He does have 1 double-double, but he's gone to overtime in a couple of games. I think he'll get it with points and assists because even though he's only averaging 7.7 assists, he's been a little unlucky. 17.3 potential assists per game. So in a pace-up match against Milwaukee, if his shooters knock down a few extra threes, he can get those 10 assists and give a double-double at a plus 625 price, which he's coming off a double-double last game. All right, Blazers and Clippers, another game with a really tight spread and a high total out west. Clippers laying 3 against the Trailblazers at home. No Kawhi Leonard, of course. The Blazers got Dame and CJ. How are you playing this one?
Yeah, listen, both these defenses are pretty bad. Teams are averaging almost 120 points against them. For the Blazers, number 1 half-court offense, number 2 in three-point shooting. So I like the over here tonight. Also, I'm going to play Lillard for a double-double. Had a double-double two games ago against Sacramento on Wednesday, and he still went 0 for 9 from downtown, and he still got the double-double. I think he gets it tonight.
Yeah, Dame Lillard is due for one of those big blow-up games. I'm going to play his backcourt teammate, C.J. McCollum, to go over 22.5 points. So far this season, McCollum is averaging 31 points per game. His low mark is 28, leads the team in usage. 22 field goal attempts per game, 11 three-point attempts per game. And again, you mentioned how bad the defenses have been on both sides. This could be a track meet, and Lillard could easily go over 30 points in this game. I think the number is just a little bit too low with Dame's backcourt running mate. All right, those are 2 NBA games to look at tonight. Let's get ready for what will begin tomorrow in Houston. Game 1 of the World Series. The Braves, slight underdog with Charlie Morton on the bump. Framber Valdez on the bump for the home favorite Astros. Total of 8. You have a Game 1 World Series play to share, Anita.
Well, I've got quite a few. So futures, my money's on Atlanta to win the World Series. I've got them winning the series. These teams evenly matched. Look across the board in regard to their lineup. I give a little edge to Atlanta with their pitching rotation. Bullpens are solid. So, but you're getting good value, obviously, on the Braves side. Game 1, I'm going to take Atlanta plus 1.5. Also, I'm going to go Morton under strikeouts at 4.5. Why? The Astros, best team in Major League Baseball in regard to limiting strikeouts. They only strike out 19.5% of their at-bats. So I'm going under in strikeouts for Morton in Game 1.
I align with you in one of those picks. It's the Game 1 total. I'll go over 8 runs as well. We know how great the Astros offense is, and you showed that they don't strike out. We know they have power to go with that, contact ability. And even though Valdez is an extreme ground ball pitcher, the Braves have crushed left-handed pitching since adding some of these pieces to their lineup at the deadline in second half of the season. Both offenses are hot, coming off NLCS and ALCS victories, so I'll play over 8 in Game 1 of the World Series tomorrow night in H-Town. That'll do it for another Monday edition of Bet. She is Anita Marks. I'm Tyler Fulghum. Thanks for enjoying our show here. We'll see you back here on Thursday night. Have fun watching Monday Night Football.